first order of business is I would invite our students from Sago to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So to begin, on her motion to approve our agenda, and it's a little echoey in here, so when you're presenting or we're speaking, we'll just speak up.
I make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes, and our first order of business is to welcome Sago Elementary and to hear from you about your school. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. I'm Chris Davis. I'm the principal at Sago. We have some amazing Sago Hawks with us tonight, and they're even more amazing. Counselor Mr. Ringham.
I'm Mr. Ringhand. I'm the school counselor at Sago. And today we're going to present you with a little spot of motion, which is a supplemental program that we got through a PAVE grant, and we've been using it a little bit this year.
Hi, I'm Presley, and I like to play football and basketball. Hi, my name is Sam, and I like to play football. Hi, my name is Max, and I like to play volleyball. Hi, my name is Leon, and I like to play softball and football. What are the Little Spot of Emotion books? The Little Spot of Emotion book is a series that teaches about understanding emotions, regulating feelings, and building skills. These books work for all grade levels and build on the skills learned in previous books. They start with emotions and build up to life skills. My favorite is the spot of life skills. Seeing all the emotions and feeling in one spot helps me figure out what emotions I am feeling in that moment. It also helps me understand that I can have a mixture of emotions at the same time. Sometimes you can have anger and sadness, or you can have anxiety and confusion. Self-regulation. I'm going to teach you how to calm down your sad spot. How to calm your sadness spot. Circle the spots in the middle of your palm, count the swirls down the palm. Around and around and around, twice more. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Each time you trace around the spot, take a deep breath to calm yourself. How to calm your anxiety spot. From the tip of my finger to the middle of my palm, I can do this, I can be calm. This worry proved too big and cannot stay. Take a deep breath in and hold it. Did you know that in grow patience that color and putting puzzles together? I learned that patience is something you build over time by practice. How are we using these little spot books? Running around. Staff around the school have the opportunity to check out spot books and use them with students in class. Small groups. The counselor wears groups of kids to target skill learning. Communicate with the counselor. Students use spot talk forms to talk with the counselor and set up a time to check and connect. Teachers and school staff have the opportunity to check out the spot books so they can use them in their classroom and in small groups. Our SAC like them so much they bought some of their own. We talked about spots of emotions in groups. One time I misunderstood something with my friend, but then I went to a lunch bunch and I understand it. One time we celebrate lunch bunch in the street, and I went to Sam, and we had so much fun. We played with the smallest grades and kept together, and I put Sam away, the little big boxes, and then we were playing section and have fun. And then when I left that cemetery lunch, I thought these are our spot talk forms. Any student can fill them and talk with the counselor about their spot of emotion. One time I felt really sad and I filled out one of these, and after I left, I felt So a while ago, my dog ate like a lot of chocolate. And I was really worried about her. But Miss Rainham will understand that if she ate that much chocolate, then she'll probably be fine.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.
And you can feel free to come up and look at any of the resources that we brought.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Remind me of what grade you students are in.
Third, me and her are third, and then
I honestly know so many adult groups who could use these. If we're just at a convention, I think this would have been super useful to them.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's actually really good stuff. I did have one question. You guys have exercises for like if you're having what considered negative emotions or feelings. Do you have exercises if you're having a positive one, like something that you use or do if you're feeling joy or excitement? That's a good thing that you can kind of, or is that, I don't know.
I don't know actually.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we do is celebration groups as part of this spot thing. And so teachers can nominate kiddos who have worked really hard in class or overcome an obstacle or maybe even just need a little extra attention and connection. And they can nominate those kids for celebratory groups. And then we come in, we share our spots of excitement or our spots of happiness, do a check-in, and then usually have silly games.
Any other questions? Thank you, students.
Good job, you guys. These are
So as they're getting ready to transition out, we're going to welcome Sandpoint Middle School students for a presentation. And their principal, Jeff Penrose. We'll give them a minute to yeah, we're just waiting. Thank you so much, students. You are welcome to stay. So, I will turn it over to Sanford Middle School students. Hello, welcome.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for being here in our school. I'm Jeff Penrose. I'm very lucky to be the principal of this school and these kids. And they are here to talk a little bit about something we really take seriously here, about how we create community here in middle school. And I'm going to hand it over to Chantel Casey, their teacher.
Hi, I'm Chantel Casey, and these are some of my amazing media arts students.
I'm Veronica Kramer.
I'm Audrey Gamble.
I'm Lila Lawson. I'm Maisie Miles.
I'm Lucy Cipriana. I'm Addison Silva.
And I'm Calvin Bellman.
Our theme is creating connections through community. Feeling connected at school has a powerful influence on students' well-being and academic success.
When students feel valued by teachers and peers and are engaged in school activities, they show higher academic performance, higher attendance, and better mental health for themselves and the people around them.
One of the many great things about our school is the classroom community. We have 4 houses, 2 for 8th grade and 2 for 7th grade. Each house has 4 core teachers, and each teacher teaches the same students, which causes them to have a closer connection with one another. Students become more comfortable with their house, so this creates a great learning environment for each individual. A few times a year, houses can have competitions between each other, which can create a great bonding experience for the staff and students.
We have a system called Red Cards. Red stands for respectful, engaged, and dependable. Red cards are given by its teachers and staff to encourage positive behavior. When positive behavior occurs, school becomes a better learning environment. Mondays are what we call Mega Monday. Every red card given on Monday goes into our special Mega Monday bin, and 5 cards are then drawn at the end of the day on Monday. We also have another drawing at the end of the day on Friday, in which 10 cards are then drawn. Our red box was built by Idabon and Martin Wood Products. This is the very front of the school when you walk in, and is now filled with red cards. When a student's card is drawn from either the bin or the box, they are allowed to go down to the library and pick from one of our many prizes. Some prizes include sitting with friends in the quad during lunch, picking passing period music, or picking a song for dance, as well as many others. These are also some of our sponsors.
The Core Project. The Core Project is something we do every Monday in Mondays. We do various activities that encourage students to work together. We focus on making our community stronger with the Core Project. The creator of the Core Project, Greg Sommers, has visited us and told us about what the Core Project is really about. Learning about friendship and feelings in a safe environment is important to SMS, and that's why we continue to do the Core Project.
SMS has great sports teams like basketball, volleyball, golf, football, cross country, track, swim, cheer, tennis, wrestling, and esports. Sports are a great way to bring students together, make friends, stay active, and out of trouble. Also, these sports help kids learn leadership, teamwork, and social skills. The people on these teams get to learn about and experience teamwork and feel the importance of being on a team. There are only a few clubs at SMS, including Idaho Battle of the Books, Math Counts, Community Service Club, Jazz Band, and Debate. But just because there is a little math does not mean that they are not important. These clubs are important because they let you be around other people with the same interests you have, helping you feel more confident at school. Studies have shown that learners with more confidence will be more willing to learn and challenge themselves.
Our last slide is about other activities that bring our school together. For this, we do a few many things, such as assemblies, dances, and Ready for Red. Assemblies are one of the activities we do varying between core projects and pub rallies. These bring students and staff from different houses together, creating a sense of community and teamwork. These kinds of events give students something to look forward to other than breaks. For example, we had a veterans assembly yesterday, and a few veterans came up to the podium and told us about how their lives were on the branches and how they got in, things like that. School dances. For school dances, media arts, which is a fun and unique event and helps us surprise the whole school with an energetic and fun night. While dancing, you can create lasting memories with students from different houses and grades coming together for a good time. The setting up and cleaning for the dance can also be a bonding experience, combining everyone's creativity and ideas, leading to teamwork with zero exclusion. Ready for Red. Ready for Red is where media arts teams will come together and collaborate on how and what to put in the weekly video. Every week on Friday, media arts will post a video to inform students on what will be happening the following week. Making these videos can help encourage teamwork and communication, along with strengthening critical thinking skills and boosting public speaking confidence. You can be as creative as you want with these videos, making them fun and something exciting to support. Thank you so much for your time and questions.
Any questions from the? We got a great overview of your school, and I can't believe how we managed to do all of that in this space, here, there, all through the classrooms. You guys, this was really great. Thank you so much for presenting to us. And Dr. Meyer has something for us.
This is from the board.
Thank you, students and parents. Next agenda item is our San Juan High School schedule, and please welcome Principal Jackie. Thank you.
Yeah, let's make it.
Yeah, we're smart. We know what we're doing. Thank you to the board. I know that we're in the middle of transition, so I'll wait for you a second. It's loud in here. And so thank you for allowing us to come up and present on the Sanborn High School schedule. This is something that we've been working on for over a year and talking through kind of shifting from a 8-period 4x4, or 4 periods one day, 4 different class periods the next, to a 6-period day. So we'll talk about the reasons behind that. I'll turn it to the next slide for Mr. Cassian.
Yeah, so we're just going to give you an overview of what we've been working on really since last spring, pretty heavily with our different departments and within our school and then out with the community as well. But we're going to give you a little why behind the shift, our graduation requirements based upon the state requirements and the shift with our different periods, what our draft schedule, we're still in draft phase, looks like, and then also some plans we have to ensure student success academically.
So we'll start with the financial, because really that is ultimately what drove this decision. When you look at it, and I want to dispel a rumor, because the rumor was we were looking at a 4-day week. We are not, okay, despite the rumors that are out there. We're absolutely not looking at a 4-day week. However, we were looking at a 6-period day, obviously for some really clear reasons financially. If you really just look at the basic math, and I won't go into the deep dive on it, but if you have teachers in a 4-period day, every teacher gets a prep. And so if you've got a quarter of your teachers on prep in any one class period, you have less opportunities for students to be in those classes. So you need more teachers to be able to keep your class sizes manageable. Now when you expand that, you say, okay, every day is going to have a 6-period day, and now you take out 1/6 of your teachers for prep. There's more student opportunities, and at the size of our high school, it makes sense financially for us to move into this aspect where we then go to a 6-period day financially. Now, a piece of that is also, of course, we have our levy, which is fixed, and we know that. We don't get cost of living inflationary or any type of adjustment unless we go back to the public and ask for that. So that is a piece of that as well. It is far less expensive, and then if you look at also, we want to delay, the idea is to delay that going back to the public, right, for that levy increase as far as we can. So that's really the main driving force, and in looking at it, there's also a lot of student benefits as well. So, right.
Yeah, I'll speak to that a little bit. Any schedule that you have will have its inherent weaknesses, the strengths as well. And so we want to emphasize some of the strengths, and we'll talk about how we're working to overcome some of the weaknesses in that schedule later. And so some of the strengths of it, first of all, we'll be able to focus on 6 classes rather than 8, and we'll be able to focus on that, and we know that was one of the advantages even during COVID. We moved into a 4x4 where we were able to focus on less classes. So that's one piece of it. Currently, a majority of our students don't actually take 8 courses every year. We see a lot of different opportunities, whether it's study halls, whether it's TA periods with teacher assistants, or the release of the arrival. And we're really trying to maximize the time that they're in class every year, every period throughout. And then consistency. In a block, if you were to miss, for example, Thursday, whether that be a sporting, you're out off for sport, you get sick. Well, the last time you've been in class was that Tuesday, and the next time you won't be in until Monday. Almost a week in between. In a 6-period day, you would have been in class the day before, and you have an opportunity the day after. And so it really helps with that consistency. We see a lot of our departments, whether it be foreign language, whether it be math, that consistency can really make a difference in their ability to retain that information. And then the last one is the time itself. By going to a 6-period day, each class will have about 15 more hours per semester, really about 30 more hours per year per course. And just to kind of quantify that in a different way, sometimes you hear 15, 30, what does that really mean? That would be like this year, finishing the school year in June, and for a year-long course, still having over 8 weeks more additional instruction. That's what our courses will each have as a result of this year day. So it's a significant increase in the amount of time per content that students would have on this period.
And just to add to that, in looking at the research behind it, and I did a lot of research and looked at a lot of studies behind it, there's benefits to both schedules. However, the number one thing that the schedules pointed out was if you can increase consistency and you can increase the time allotted to coursework, those are both very beneficial for students.
So the process that we've been working on is we really utilized our leadership team called the department chairs at San Point High School, which represents each of the different departments, science, math, English, and then the counseling department as well as our administrative leadership team. And we started talking about these changes. We looked at lots of different schedules. Many of the people who were part of that have been on other schedule teams at previous times, so we brought lots of different plans to the table. We talked about them, took them back to the departments, discussed the pros and cons of each of the different schedules. And then last April, when we had our professional development day, we spent time really doing breakout sessions and looking at which schedule was the best. And this was the one that the staff landed on that they felt was the most consistent as far as providing time with students and consistency with students. So coming back to those two key points that we saw there too. We had some conversations that were pretty lengthy about, are there some classes that benefit from a longer block that would do well with maybe an hour and a half like we currently have. But the staff members really felt like this is the best landed upon one that would provide the most opportunities for students. And so the early release Friday still sticks. That was the one that the district sent the survey out 2 years ago. 94% of parents landed on. And as you can see, Monday through Thursday, we have a pretty consistent 60-minute period. We did have to do some voting as a staff to adjust some of our start times and stop times so we could get that beautiful 60 minutes and not a 59-minute or anything goofy like that. So that was also another thing people were pretty excited about, was some consistency on that. And as you can see, our instructional minutes are on here as well. With a shortened day on Friday, we adjusted that fourth period end there. Again, it's still in draft form, but that's where we're landing right now, so that lunch won't be at 10:30 in the morning. And then we still have that PLC team time period. So Focus Fridays, one of the things that we put into place 2 years ago was Bulldog Time, and the focus on Bulldog Time was to really provide an opportunity for students to meet with their teachers during the academic day. We know that students have a lot of things outside of their academic day, such as sports, such as activities, jobs. Transportation can be something that is a problem. And so we really felt it was super important to give an opportunity for students to meet with their teachers during the academic day. And, that was met with all kinds of what's this really going to look like? Really quickly, our teachers started saying, it's making a difference. I am having some students having more success being able to access and come in and work with us. And so with a typical schedule like this, how can we build this in? How can we continue what we heard from staff? We heard from students who said, we feel overwhelmed all the time with the amount of homework we have. What can you do to help us? And then we also heard from parents that this is really helping to relieve that extra homework on their independent time stress. And so the way we thought we could come up with a similar pattern with the 6-period day was to come up with Focus Fridays. Not a 4-day week, but on Fridays, we would have no new instruction. So when we talk about that 15 extra hours in a semester, that's excluding Fridays. Fridays would be a time for intervention and extension for students with no new learning. Instead, teachers would be able to meet with students and meet them where they're at and what their needs are. And so up to 2 Fridays a month, and we've looked at the calendar, and Fridays are those, we have lots of them built in, almost one a month, where students don't attend due to end of the quarter or different things like that. But up to 2 Fridays a month, we would require students to be in school and actively meeting with their teachers. And during that time, they would have interventions and extensions. So not just the students who are struggling, but some of our AP teachers started getting really excited about these ideas. We can have some study groups and some extra time to meet with students, but we're not just doing our typical curriculum, but we're able to extend that time as well. And so reinforcing that success, how do you assess how students are doing? Well, grades is one simple measure. Are students passing courses? How are students doing for attendance? Are they coming to school Monday through Thursday and doing a good job with staying on that 90% attendance level? How's their behavior? Their time on task in class is shown through their behavior, as well as parental approval. Students could potentially have the ability to not attend every single Friday with this Focus Friday schedule.
So just to add to that, so Clark Fork, we've been using this model at Clark Fork for the past 2 years. And currently, so this last Friday was the first one of the year where students were able with, as long as they had A's and B's, right, their parameters are A's and B's. Students have to have at least 90% attendance or better. Their behavior has to be exemplary, and they have to have parent approval. So if they have all those things, then students do not have to attend on Fridays. But what's pretty cool about that is 42% of 8th grade through 12th grade students have qualified, which is amazing because that means, right, that this intervention program or this program is helping students. And I talked to Mr. Kinnick today at Clark Fork, and he said a ton, and he didn't have the number for me, but his words, a ton of students came back to then tutor and help other students, and one student even went to Hope Elementary to then go and help tutor students who didn't have to be there. And they saw the same thing last year. They had leadership students come back and tutor 7th grade students. They're starting to find programs for extension. So that the whole idea is, let's get everybody here, but let's get kids that don't have to be here to want to be here. And create that extension time and give some projects and different things that they still would want to come. Now, again, parents can always send every student, even if the student would qualify, they can still send students.
And I'll also add that we looked at other school districts in the state of Idaho who do this as well. Wrigley does this, Bonneville does this as well. And both of those school districts have some years of success in terms of what's happening on ISAT scores, what's happening in overall grades, what's happening in terms of attendance and behavior. And so we've had a lot of communications with both of those school districts on how they successfully implement this program.
So again, we're still in our draft phase, but this is the calendar that it's a little hard to see the red spots are a little like that. So we put it in, these would be the required Fridays. So before we would even consider a release from a Focus Friday, students would have to go to at least 3 to 5 days or a week's worth of Fridays so we could get some base grades going on. The senior students were doing that and have a workshop. And then one of the other areas that we wanted to make sure was that we built in a mandatory Friday to try to get as many at the high school, every school, but at the high school there's a lot of distractions. This Friday we're having an assembly for our swim team at one state. You know, there's just so many things that come into the course of a day that if we keep our Monday through Thursday really tight, we can put some of those activities and some of those short and distracting types of things onto our Friday schedules. And that's why we want to make sure that we're building at least a minimum of 1 to 2 Fridays that students will be coming to school.
Talk a little bit about graduation requirements and how that fits in. If you look on the left, this is what the state requires. You'll see that one thing is highlighted, it's digital literacy, because that's what we proposed with the State Board of Education. It actually recommended including digital literacy as a new requirement and removing speech as a requirement in order to keep the credits the same. So what we're presenting here is what the state, if it passes, we will know after the legislative session or sometime during the legislative session. But then we're also presenting what Sample High will continue to require in addition to the state requirements. And we would continue to do PE, CTE, and we would continue to do speech. The staff feels that it's very important for them to have that skill, and whether or not the state continues to offer it, we want to continue to require it of our students. Now, if this doesn't pass, the difference would be you'd see speech right back here as the one required, and you'd continue to see one PE and one CTE required in addition to that. So then we're kind of taking a look at what it would look like throughout a 4-year period for students. And one of the things that comes with this schedule is obviously less total opportunities for credits. And that's one of the things that we have to be mindful of. And so one of the things that we did do was to try to balance as much as possible the required courses throughout their 4 years to create more elective opportunities in each year. For example, if we could take most of the required courses the freshman year and we would just put that into this new freshman, it would have been totally filled in. There wouldn't have been elective opportunities. So we've made some shifts within it so that you can see we continue to offer a significant number of electives. Now, will there be students who want more than that? Absolutely. Though the majority, this will probably fit, there are absolutely students who do really embrace that 8 credits. And so that's where we have to look at things like early bird opportunities for those students. And we're trying to work through that right now, of what classes fit that will really work with those students so that they can have those extra credit opportunities each year if they want that. But again, you see 4 electives here, 5 electives there, 4, and then 6 by the time you're a senior. We also are putting digital literacy at senior year because they are making it a required, if it's adopted for this year's freshmen, as opposed to future students. So they're actually making it required for students we already have. So this gives us some time to actually figure out who's going to teach it, what the curriculum's going to be, so we're going to be successful when we actually present that to that class.
Our students took a student interest survey today during their hold off time to select courses that they would be interested in, not committing to scheduling, but interested in taking next year, just so we could get a pretty clear image of what do students want. So if they have to start making choices, which they will, you know, what are the courses that we want to ensure that we are offering? What courses can we maybe collapse together? Which courses are students saying, you know, not so much anymore, even though you've been offering it for a while, maybe this isn't the one that's still of the highest demand right now. So we're really taking into account also the student input as we figure out our requirements.
Okay, then just the last thing was, we did take parent input. We had 2 meetings. We had parents come in. We had about 40 parents total come in. The questions were interesting that came from the parent group. They were actually mostly centered around how much homework is my kid going to get. If they right now have 4 classes one day and 4 classes the next, it's really nice to be able to balance that out. That was definitely the dominant piece of the conversation. There were other questions as well, but that was certainly a lot of the input that we took. Some of the questions, of course, circulate around electives, what electives will be offered, and of course, I think Jackie just spoke to that in terms of just the offerings, student-centered, asking students what they want, kind of seeing where we have enough interest that we want to create classes from. We also did, and one question that did come up, and I just want to address, is that the question that's come up from the staff as well as parents was, what about, does this mean we're just going to fire a bunch of staff? The answer to that is no, that we've committed to doing this through attrition. As people retire and as people leave, then we've committed to say, okay, we'll look at each position as it comes, and then we'll see what do we need. And so this is truly a kind of a long-term plan to be able to, in the long term, save money as we go.
And the parent input, very important, because as we continue to discuss how this looks, things like the piece about homework are going to be something that we as a staff really talk about. What does that look like going forward? Especially considering that we do have so much more class time now available. And so how do we balance that extra class time with maybe, there's still going to be homework, but how do we maybe minimize that impact, especially not trying to get 6 classes worth of homework every single night. Right? I think we should be strategic in that. And so having heard that directly from the parents, it's going to be something we're really mindful of as we move forward.
And we did get very positive feedback about the Friday idea from parents that attended. Of course, there's a lot of other
The parents had a survey too that they filled out afterwards that they were not able to attend. But there was an audible, when they were asking, what about hold-on time? When are our students going to be able to do homework? And then we said, well, we're talking about a Focus Friday. There were parents who literally said, you should have led with that, but I'm in that. So, just, that was the input that we received.
Right,
at those focus
and
meetings.
to add to that piece, right now, hold-on time is recycled through over a 2-week period, so you only see your course once every 2 weeks. With this model, you'll be able to see every course every week in the hold-on time format. So it also ups that opportunity to really get back to your teachers.
Yeah,
Go back to the frequency.
And again, to give kids what they need.
Well, I appreciate you coming and presenting this to us. We had fielded a few questions from the community
Right,
ourselves, and it was like, at least on my part, I was like, I can't offer much. So, are there any other questions from trustees? Anything else to add to this?
Nope, just making sure that the board stays input, and it won't change the calendar. It will show you the calendar, and the board approves the calendar, so that will come to you. And then we'll just keep you in the loop on this so that you know.
I guess I do have one question. I mean, if we are able to find staffing for that digital literacy class and whatnot within the next year or 2, I feel like maybe as a senior might be too late. Are we able to
So to speak to that, so our current freshmen are the ones who it will be required for. So it will not be required for sophomores, juniors, seniors.
So
They
that
do
gives
not
us
have to.
the 3 years, that's planned, given us the
Well,
3
it
years.
is, and we also, so when we met with the state, people from the state, we also gave them the feedback of, can you please start it with the current 8th graders? Because then that allows us to have a 4-year plan that we don't have to adjust. Because those freshmen have set at least an idea in their minds of what their 4-year plan looks like. This throws a little bit of a wrench into that, so we have to adjust. So we did ask, we gave that feedback, and they said they would take that and bring that back.
I was just saying, it would be
Yeah.
nice to maybe have that as like a junior
Yeah,
class.
Yeah.
that's part of our issue. If we showed that slide, the junior year is really filled up already. It's one of the, has the most, some of the most requirements, so it'd be challenging to put it here. There was discussion about putting it here, but it would be required immediately next year without us having the opportunity to build
And
it.
we don't, and there is discussion about perhaps that would change down the road.
For sure.
Currently, we don't know if the state's going to approve it or what the curriculum even looks like. So when we met with the state a couple weeks ago, it was a big shift from what we even envisioned it looking like. Suddenly there was some other things like algorithms and we're like, oh, okay, we need more time to put this into place. We didn't feel like we could throw it in for
And
next
so
year.
is it, and frankly, so is the state.
Yeah, and who's teaching it and just what does it look like? So that could potentially change down the road.
And I will remind the board that the board does approve the board policy that has graduation requirements in it, so that is something where you would have approval on it before it rolls out to the students.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we invite up our CFO, Grant Wallace, for a financial report. Welcome.
Please wait back. Chair Lewis, report, Dr. Meyer. Again, just monthly finance report. We're reporting on October, so we're the second full month. You can see on at least the revenue side, the monthly activity, there's not a whole lot. That revenues, again, this time of the year come in October, a little bit of local money, and then we had some state categorical funding come in. You know, $500,000, most of that was the state literacy funds that come in 2 payments. They do one this time of the year, then they do one later. So that was the majority of that. On the expenditure side, you can see that, again, we're right at that $3.5 million about of salaries and benefits, which is what it was in September, roughly. So that's good news because that is right at about 8.5%. So 1 month of our expenditures, that's the big one to track. Once we get the 3rd month in November, that should be pretty consistent through the year. The only thing we have to look at is we have everybody charged to the general fund that should be charged. We might have some people, maybe they're being coded to a federal program that shouldn't be anymore. So some of those costs could shift to the general fund. I don't really look at that until now because later in the day you're going to hear from an auditor, and he was keeping us busy to do some of those changes for last year's. But we're definitely in good shape. You can see the green is going up, and of course, the way our fund, school district budgets work, it's salaries and benefits really drive your financial health. And we're doing fine in that. The capital items, you can see we spent quite a bit. Some of that, I think most of that was track, and then we also had some technology of the Chromebooks that we charged to capital. The revenue, again, we haven't really much supplemental levy coming in yet. Some of the state money has, and of course, our first payment from state apportionment, but we're tracking like previous years. And the next slide, real quick, on enrollment, you can see that we're, compared to the same time last year, we're up 51 kids. We're up 3 kids from the previous month, so we're sort of maintaining that we're having more kids than last year, so that's good news. That's a little bit higher than budget, so we might get another unit or 2 of funding, depending on how our attendance is. We start getting those numbers later, really in January, February, when our first calculations for salary-based portion are made, and that we'll really know how to track on the revenue side as far as our state funding. One thing I wanted to show, this is a future thinking. If you look at our enrollment by class in the yellow, you can see that by far, the two smallest classes we have are kindergarten and first grade. You know, we average about 290 per class, and those are averaging 230. Is that a long-term trend? I don't know. There's a lot of things that go on. There's charter schools that get open enrollment, so it's not just the new kids coming into an area. We could have a big subdivision coming into the area, you don't know. But if that trend continued, you could see that, 6 years of that would really, that bubble would flow through the system and we'd sort of have a drop in enrollment over time. But just something that's sort of interesting to see that that's a 2-year trend. Just 2 quick items to note. First, capital projects update. So that we did go through the paper for asking for qualifications for construction manager, general contractor. Last week, just before the ISA conference, those bids were due. We had 3 that made the cutoff date. I think that Trustee Wood actually at the conference met one of the contractors that was going to submit, but missed the bid.
Missed the bid by 4 hours.
For 4 hours. So, yeah. So these are the 3 that followed the rules. And so anyway, it's Mountain Construction, Graham Construction, they're both out of Spokane. Gino's out of Coeur d'Alene. So we're going to evaluate those sort of similar to how we evaluated the architect and come with a recommendation for the board in December. And then this is always good news. We received the dollars are actually in our account, not in the state account. The first payment for the House Bill 520 Facilities Modernization Funds, $12.3 million, is there. It's in our LGIP, which is the Local Government Investment Pool account, sitting there and available to when we start moving forward with projects. And as we were here earlier and discussed about next steps and things we order, like when the design is done, if we needed to order electrical equipment, we could actually order it and have the funds to be able to move forward and not wait for any revenues coming in. So that's the news. Right here for any questions.
Are there any questions from trustees?
You were putting that first payment in some kind of CD or something, correct? Is that something
right
in the works?
So the state of Idaho has the state treasurer's office. They call it the Local Government Investment Pool. So they'll invest the dollars, for us in a safe place, and then we put most, even now, I have to keep so much in the bank, and then just before payroll, we transfer money over, so we don't bounce the checks. But because we get higher interest there. So we did set up a separate account so that we have our main LGIP where the state portion goes in. I set up a separate account just for the capital projects so that it's easy for us that all the interest earned on those dollars goes to capital projects. So we could have kept it together and maybe backed out of the could do a proportion and split the interest. This way it's a little easier. I don't think it's hard. I think it's sort of see.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. We are going straight on to our superintendent report from Dr. Becky Meyer.
Okay. We have a very short one. I knew it was going to be a long meeting and the audit report is tonight. So it's very quick tonight. Thank you for moving the meeting to Sandpoint Middle School. I think it was good for the community to be able to come here. Right off the bat, I would like to say I made a mistake at the last board meeting and clarify that it actually was the parent for the board policy that you looked at for health education. It really is, I said it was an opt-out and it really is an opt-in. So just to clarify for the board and to clarify for the community is that if parents want their 5th and 6th graders to participate in that health education and the sexual education that is in 5th grade and 6th grade, it is opt-in. So they do have to return this permission slip, which are linked in there if folks want to see it. That's on the agenda for tonight. So just to clarify that, I was wrong when I said that it was opt-out. Here's our strategic plan. Tonight we're only going to talk about our community connection. A very huge thank you. State law says that we have to have Veterans Day assemblies the length of a period on the day of Veterans Day. In our district, we do have to have them on a few different days. We had some today, some on Friday, just because we share music educators. So we do have to, we give a little bit of wiggle room. But these were some of the veterans, if you saw the post that Darren did, it was wonderful. If you saw the loop, just some tribute to our staff that were veterans, which was really nice to see. So we've got a lot of positive feedback for that. The loop, here's the October loop. And again, if any past loops, if anybody in the community links on this, you can click right on there and see them. Today we did a coffee clutch at the Burn Plow, which is our first time doing it there. It was well received. We had 15 people, plus Darren and I were there, and we had really worked on the facility, so we gathered input, but there were other questions as well. So we had great input this morning, which I'll share with the board and the architect. And then we have the one right here, which 3 of the board members were here. We have in-person opportunity tonight as well for people to get input about Sanford Middle School. So both of those 2 community connections happened today. And then I will let you know there is the Library Materials Review Committee met, and they had, their homework was to go through the policies. They did have some very minor, nothing in content, just something about timely fashion, and also they did a little grammatical changes. So I wanted to honor their time, and so I put that back out again to you. It was really fun to meet with them. They're hoping that there will be a book review because they'd like to get back together. No, don't say that. Don't say that. We can get back together just for fun if you want. But they really are a great group of people. So thank you to each of you, because these people were really very dedicated to what we were talking about. So just one last thing here this month in the middle. Remember that student learning is always the most important, at the center of everything we do with our strategic plan. So I would like to say huge congratulations to the volleyball and girls cross country, because they were state academic champions. So Ms. Crossingham talked about they're going to have an awards assembly, and they do celebrate the swim team, girls and boys, won state, and it's a big deal when you win state. As you know, Sanford High School has moved to 5A because they moved everybody, shifted people up. Clark Fork is still 1A, but Sanford High School is all the way up into 5A now. But this is a very big deal when you have the highest, this should be my biggest honor for me as a principal to be able to look at the students that really, they're competing and they're the academic champions. So this is something I'm, as a superintendent, really proud of, and I know they are as well at Sanford High School. So that's a really big deal.
So does our cross country girls have 4.0?
Yes.
Across the board, that's what I'm reading?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find
I don't know this girls volleyball.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a big deal. Great job.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes. All right, focusing on your one thing, the board did give their one thing publicly at our meeting earlier this year. Focus every student every day, and this is the board's focus goals this year that they have agreed to. Well, this was their ideas on what they wanted to focus on this year, and we do reports back out to you. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Mike. There's no one. Okay, so we will move straight on in the agenda. Well, the next one is me reporting back to you on the ISBA convention that we went to. Our clerk Kelly Fisher, Dr. Meyer, myself, Trustee Wood, and Trustee Peters. I was calling Trustee Jalen. Trustee Jalen. We all went down to Boise. It was a great convention. Our CFO was down there. Darren was there for media, and we were able to attend sessions, and I told everybody to come back with a soundbite of either their best session they attended or some little takeaway. It did say, 5 seconds or less, but we will start with you, Trustee Peters.
I think the best session I attended had to do with AI and incorporating that into our schools and policies and whatnot. It's pretty intriguing. And so that discussion's for another day. But I did like one comment that one of the speakers made, maybe on a personal level, but I think it's applicable for most people too, is the idea of attaining our dreams. It's like always a process to kind of reach that mountaintop, and it could be really difficult. But the idea that like almost all the time our dreams, we don't stay there forever. And the process of coming back down from the mountaintop of that dream that we've attained is equally as treacherous and important to focus on as getting to the dream. So, I don't know, that just kind of nailed me, and maybe there's a personal place I'm at right now, or I don't know, but I like that.
One of the seminars I went to was on cell phone policy. And I picked that specifically because I really like the Sandpoint High School new cell phone policy. Best thing ever. Also, the middle school's doing it. But there's actually a push in Idaho to get that across the board. And there's actually putting together, once you get an actual board policy in place for cell phones, you can get a $5,000 reward. So I think that was
It's coming.
For implementation.
yeah, for implementation. Correct.
Implementation of the policy, yeah.
I will go last, so either one of you have a soundbite favorite session, or either or.
So my favorite session was on public records. Scott Rapp with the IDE presented on it, and there's always new records that pop up that are interesting and handle them legally, so just nerd out on this.
My favorite was the one I got to present. I showed up, and as I showed up at 7 in the morning on Wednesday, they said, oh, the session you're doing is 4 hours. They didn't tell me ahead of time how long we were presenting for, so 4 hours of time. There was a little 10-minute break in the middle, but it was on board boot camp and how to get along, what the superintendent role is, management versus governance. And it was all new board members that throughout the state, and there was like 40 people there. It was a great time, and I just really loved meeting new board members for the state.
Did you want to chip in? Or CFO Brian?
I would agree with Trustee Peters on this keynote. My brothers are a lot talking about that. I really enjoyed that. I think the other session I did enjoy was hearing from the legislators, and we had Senator-elect John Woodward was there with some thoughts on the upcoming session. It's good to hear directly from legislators and how they think the session should go.
Darren was there, but I don't know if he has a soundbite.
Was it a takeaway also?
Yep. Good
Well,
focus.
I learned that the CFO, superintendent, and trustees are all human beings.
So for myself, there was a lot of good. I went to a great one on school safety, on vouchers, on kindergarten readiness. Those were all great. My takeaway was from that political one that you referenced, and it was that there's a lot of confusing narrative about public education, and something it just really resonated with me. There's a lot happening at the national level and in other states that is not our story in North Idaho, and that our story about what we're doing in public education in this county is what we need to stay focused on, what we need to communicate with our patrons and students, because it can sure be confusing when other people are flooding you with other drama happening nationally. So, and I'm proud of our school district, so that was my takeaway. I am very briefly going to tell, mostly for the public, but I don't know how riveting this is for all of you. We had 18 resolutions, 3 of them were withdrawn. And I just run through this publicly, so it's going to go very fast, but you can always ask me again for the information. We can also post it. The first resolution, we had 5 yes. That resolution passed on school safety. Resolution 2 was withdrawn. Resolution 3 was on school safety funding. We had 5 yes votes, and that passed. Resolution 4 was on early learning initiatives. We had 3 yes, 2 no. That passed. kind of close. Resolution 5 was on restoration of lottery funds. We had 5 yeses, that passed resoundingly. Resolution 6 was the supplemental levy term. We had 4 yes, 1 no, and that did pass. Resolution 7 was so strange. It got amended 3 times. It was on spousal exceptions in small districts. We had 5 no's, and that failed. Resolution 8 was opposition to, it was basically the voucher 1, opposition to the vouchers. We had 4 yes, 1 no, that did pass. 9 was withdrawn. 10 was CTE personnel funding. We had 4 yes, 1 no, that passed. Resolution 11 was on loan grant fund. We had 5 yeses on that, that passed. 12 was option sales tax for funding schools. We had 5 yes and that passed. Oh, no. I take that back. We had 5 yes and that one failed. That was the only one we were not in agreement with the majority. That passed. Resolution 13 was amending school age for flexibility. We had 5 yes and that passed. 14 was withdrawn. 15, 5 yes and that passed. Unanimously on the floor, that was the only unanimous one. 16, math and science funding, we had 5 yes and that passed. 17 and 18 were yeses and they passed. So that was the 18 resolutions, and that concludes my really fast download of a great 3 days. And next time, Lonnie and Tanya will be there for the fun. So, thank you, and I'm just going to roll right on. We have a super packed agenda. We have first reading 3 policies, so we're going to go right on to 2,500 library materials.
So as I said earlier, there is just a few, this one is a grammatical error, and then they just said in a timely fashion, and the principal recommends removal.
Are there any questions on this one? Very straightforward. If not, we will move on to first reading of 2530, request for review and reconsideration of learning.
The only thing on this one was in the law, anyone can ask for reconsideration of the library materials, and this form that we had submitted to the board acted as if we had to have a student, so they just added the if applicable.
Is there any questions on that? We're going so fast, I'm having trouble pulling up the next one. The next one is the first reading of 3520, contagious infectious diseases. And so this was basically to keep in accordance with Senate Bill 1329. Were there any questions from you guys? Okay. It adds up the section. Really no questions or changes on this? Well, that makes it easy. We will go right on. I will hear a motion for approval of consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. So we get to the exciting next thing is our external audit report, and we welcome our Hayden Ross auditors. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. So a quick introduction. I'm new up here. My name is Tony Madsen. I'm the audit partner at Hayden Ross. I've been doing school district auditing for a little over a decade now. And in our firm, we specialize in the school district. So we do a lot of these every single year. But we're here to talk about your district tonight. We issued a clean opinion on the financial statements, which means that we knew that they were fairly stated. We didn't have any findings. In addition to doing the financial statement audit, the district was required to also have a single audit. So I don't know if you guys have talked to that before or not, but single audit is effectively a compliance audit. Federal compliance audit is required when the district spends over $750,000 of grant, federal grant money. The district spent just under $4 million of federal grant money this last year. We audited the special ed program. We didn't have any findings, which is awesome. clean opinion on the single item as well. I know that on the agenda item, you had that Indian governance letter. I saw that up there. Primarily, that's just required communication with the board. Talks through some of the significant estimates on financial statements. But one that I just want to focus on here is that the big one is that we didn't have any disagreements with management. So, no disagreements with management. I wanted to take a second and thank both Val and Brian for all of their hard work in getting through the audit. First year audits are always it's kind of like a first date. You got to get in there, get a sense of what's going on. With the first year audit, we also do some work on the prior numbers, so it's not necessarily just the audit is usually we have to come in and confirm that we believe that we started in the right spot. So a little extra work the first year, but I just wanted to thank Val and Brian again for this opportunity. Today, we're not gonna read the audit report, that can be a long day. Put together a couple drafts for presentation today. We're gonna go through the general fund and then also the capital projects fund, which are effectively the two sort of major funds that are presented in your financial statements. If we look at the general fund started the year with a fund balance or equity of $19,279,000. Revenues last year were $48,049,000. Expenditures were $45,276,000, resulting in an increase in the fund balance of about just under $2.8 million this last year, ending at the $22,052,000. So a positive year for the general fund, which is great. I went ahead and compiled kind of, this is sort of like my standard graph, but I went ahead and compiled the last 10 years worth of data for the district. I just like to look at this from a perspective of general fund revenues and expenses, just get some trends. Primarily the things that I noticed was the general fund has had an increase in the fund balance of 7 in the last 10 years, including each of the last 7. So 15, 16, and 17, there was a loss, and then starting in fiscal year 18 to where you are now, you've had an increase in the fund balance, which is great for the district. If we look at what that actually has done to the fund balance, this has a couple different pieces of information. The top, the red line there is your actually the ending fund balance in the district, and the black line represents the district has a minimum fund balance policy of effectively 5% of general fund revenues. So that's shown there as where your minimum fund balance is compared to where the district is at. A couple of things to note. Obviously, sitting at the $22 million, that's a significantly different spot than where you were back in 2017, which represents the low point. Things that have happened that you guys are all aware of, but in fiscal year, your tax year 19, which is the district's revenue, and fiscal year 20 was the implementation of the indefinite levy. So when you look at fiscal year 20, that's where you start seeing that you had your indefinite levy put in place at $4.7 million. And probably the biggest change also within that is in the COVID Act, right? And that was, you have COVID funds come into the districts fiscal year 21, 22, 23, and 24. And the district here, and just talking through with Brian and Becky, the district made an effort to use those COVID dollars to cover general fund expenses as much as possible. So when those dollars came in, that's what has also led to this fund balance increase. COVID dollars are now effectively all used up. So I have the feeling that this is sort of the high point for the fund balance in the general fund. 5% fund balance, sometimes that's a hard reference. The $22 million represents about 5.8 months worth of operating expenses. So you're sitting in a pretty good spot. The budget for fiscal year 25 is expected, budget-wise, they're expecting to use about $2 million of that in fiscal year 25. Look at the revenues a little bit closer. Again, total revenues for the year were $48,049,000. That was about a 4.1% increase year over year. Your local dollars, so local is going to be your levy dollars, interest earnings, other local donations, so everything that's coming is from the local environment, was about 31.8% of your total revenues. Local money was up about $418,000 year over year. Primarily, the levy was the same. Primarily, the difference is interest earnings. General fund had about just under $1.6 million in interest earnings into the general fund last year. So it's a good interest earning environment. Brian talked about, so you're getting your modernization money, sitting at $12 million. The LPOSD is earning about 5%, so that's a dollar sit there. There's going to be a benefit to what that actually puts in the fund balance for future projects for the district. And they had basically $1.6 million for earnings in fiscal year 24 for the general fund, which is great. The state, can we go back? Yeah. The state money represents 68% of your general fund revenues. It was at $32,670,000. This is probably the biggest story for your general fund. It was up about $4 million year over year. So things that have happened in this year 24, state funding moved from enrollment back to average daily attendance. Your support units dropped based off of that. We've done 24 school district and charter school audits this year, and your decrease was not as big as I thought in most districts. So that was good in terms of the funding for the district. The state increased the funding per support unit from about $36,000 to just over $41,000. So with that, even though you have a reduction of your support units, the per support unit funding went up, leading to that $4 million increase. And then the other thing that happened is right at the end of the school year, the state approved an additional funding supplemental, one-time supplemental funding in the district that was about $1.3 million. So that money came in July. It wasn't available to spend throughout the year, but it was counted as revenues, and it is in your fund balance. So that $22 million also includes that $1.3 million in revenue. All right. Again, I went back 10 years and just put together just the makeup. I like to look at this, just kind of get some trends for the district between the dollars coming in the general fund between local and state. Your 10-year average has been about 32.6% of your dollars have come in from local, and 64.2% has come in from state. That's right about where you ended up this last year. There is some sort of fluctuations that you have going on here. Again, that jump in 2020 is going to be when the indefinite supplemental levy came in. And what has happened since that point is the dollars have remained the same. Levy dollars have remained the same. The state funding has continued to increase, which is driving that percentage down, where 37% in 2020 is now 31.8%. All right, this is a new graph, and I'm trying to see if it actually is nice to look at. This is your expenditures, all right? So total expenditures last year, again, were $45,276,000. That was an increase of about 6.7% over fiscal year 23. The biggest block of expenditure was payroll. Payroll was $27,528,000. That was an increase of about $3.8 million year over year. Combination of the raises that were given and then some of the salaries benefits being shifted back into the general fund from COVID money from prior years. Benefits made up the next biggest portion at $10,390,000. That was an increase of about $1.3 million year over year. Health insurance was up $578,000. FICA Medicare was up $237,000. And then Percy had the increased contribution rate, which led to an increase in person contribution of about $477,000. As you guys already know, those are your two biggest pieces of the general fund. Overall, those two pieces made up about 83.7% of your total expenditures. I always like to point out that effectively means that 83, 84, 85% of your budget is committed at the time the school starts for salaries and benefits. And that's about the percentage. Anywhere 80 to 85% is the percentage that we see in most of our schools. So your district seems to be right in the same makeup of how the general fund dollars are being spent. Purchase services were $2.6 million. That was real similar to the same amount that was spent in the prior year. Supplies and materials were $2,229,000. This is actually a reduction of about $838,000 year over year. The primary difference there was some curriculum purchases in District 23, specifically related to math and science that didn't happen in fiscal year 24. Your capital outlay, capital objects expense was real similar to where it was in the prior year. Transfer out for just over $1 million. The district made you require a bus depreciation transfer and transfer some additional dollars to the bus depreciation fund, $403,000. Made a $200,000 transfer to your facilities fund. Read my notes. $200,000 to child nutrition, and then you had Medicaid match, $206,000. Your other expenses are hard to read, but were insurance and lease related. So a different way to look at your general fund, and it's easier to go back 10 years to get this data than it was to look at, sometimes I like to look at your salaries and benefits as a percentage total for the 10 years. As we acquire that data, I'll be able to provide that information to you guys. This is looking at the expenditures from an instruction versus support aspect. So those sort of function codes, whether effectively like in-class spending versus that, right? And you can kind of see your 10-year trend. 54% on your 10-year trend, 54% of your dollars have been spent on instruction, 40% on support. That's right in the same ranges that I see in a lot of schools of your size. 38 to 40% of the total expenditures being spent on that. Was a little bit higher this last year, and that will generally happen in years where there's additional dollars in your transfers, those support expenses, so when you have additional transfer years, where you have some one-time expenditures like your Skyward expense that was coded, a lot of that was coded in fiscal year 24, that's going to be support related expenditure, and that was sometimes on that current year. But overall, your average has been right at that. All right, next page. All right, so capital projects, this is all of your capital projects put together. All right, total, began the year with equity of $1,330,000. Revenues last year were just over $2 million. That was your $603,000 in transfers from your general fund. And also the House Bill 292, your school district plant facility money, so that was new money that came in, it was just under $1.4 million. You guys started a new fund that's holding those dollars in the current year. Expenditures were $726,000, primarily on capital outlay. And the district ended the year with a fund balance for equity in the capital projects fund of $2,651,000. The makeup of that is primarily your plant facilities has about $478,000, bus depreciation has $804,000. That used to be more buses than it is now, but that's effectively probably about 6 buses worth of expenditures in there. And then you started the school district facilities fund that had just $3,170,000 left to spend at the district's discretion. Overall takeaway, it's my first year, but it seemed like it was a good year for the district. It's good to see that fund balance. You guys are sitting in a pretty good spot, which is awesome. COVID dollars are obviously going away, so fiscal year 25 is going to look different than what the past few years have looked. But the general fund's in great shape. We got the $2.6 million capital projects. You got the $12 million for the modernization money that's in this CA 25, so district's in a pretty good spot. You guys have any questions for me?
No, that's very thorough. I appreciate all your work on this.
Yeah.
This was definitely a big upload of information for you to try and get your hands around in this first year, but I appreciate and thank you to Brian and the team and Val for working so closely with you together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look forward to seeing you guys next year. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, yeah. With the kids. You cookie, you're crying.
Take one there, take one.
These are the best ones.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next action item is, oh, we do have to, let me see if I have a motion on. I would request someone to make a motion here following our audit report.
I make a motion to accept the external audit report for fiscal year 2024 as presented by Amy Moss.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Our next action item is for RFP, and we have Matt Brass here, although this was a very thorough report. So, but he is here, our tech director. If there are questions, I don't know if you have any questions. It's always very thorough report. I'll hear a motion.
I make a motion to approve the RFP for networking equipment as presented.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm moving on to our next, which is a surplus property. You saw that we don't do this very often, but we have Dr. Meyer and we have our facilities director, Matt Deal, available for questions. So I'm still going to.
As I told the board in the board update, we have these parcels and they're not really doing us any good. Knowing that the facility funds are coming and that we're moving on, I thought this would be less liability for the district to be holding these small holdings. So I asked Mr. Deal if he would do an assessment form, share that with you, and our recommendation is that we are able to surplus the property.
Are there any questions?
Do we have an idea what we would do with the income from that, or is it already planned for?
My recommendation is it goes into that facility fund since it is for capital projects and use it. I have a feeling knowing how the nation has been going with the costs, I think that even though we have our initial 18 point this, I'm sure that
Unfortunately, it's not supervised property.
Yeah.
How did the school district even end up with these parcels in the first place? These are weird little.
Yeah, I think actually donation. I think they were donating once upon a time. So as part of the sealed bid disposal, I've worked with CFO Wallace that has worked on this kind of thing before, but also make sure the adjacent property owners know, because that's likely
The ones who are interested.
they'd be the most interested in. One of them, I mean, it's even fenced and the guy's even cuts hair.
So if there are no other questions, I'm entering a motion.
I make a motion to surplus LPOSD district property as presented.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. Thank you for your work on this. We have second reading of two policies on the we have a ratified the superintendent's decision. So there is a motion to ratify the decision to,
I make a motion to ratify the superintendent's decision to place employee A on paid involuntary leave of absence.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. That motion passes. Second reading of policies. We have two policies. 2335, health enhancement education. This is a new policy. You saw a little background on why it's presented. It's due to help Senate Bill 1308, House Bill 666, signed into law. So, are there any questions on this? Or is there? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
I make a motion to adopt new policy 2335, health enhancement education.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. The other second reading is 7260 Student Activity Fund. It's just that revision. We've seen it before. Is there any questions?
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 7260, student activity fund.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes, and that's the end of our action items for tonight. Are there any administrative announcements? Is Jackie
Well,
and...
we did most of mine, but we are celebrating our academics and athletics on Friday with our girls volleyball and cross country, and our girls swim team took state, but our boys also took state, and it was the first time in history they broke 3 school records as a result.
Wow.
So it's just a lot of fun, and it was really fun on Saturday when we celebrated them all coming back with the police escort and everything too. So it was good.
Great. Congratulations.
Yeah, so we partnered with, like I told you earlier this year, we had a booster fun run for, it's our one and only PTA fundraiser, and then we had OMSI, which is Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, and they happened to be in our area, so we looped them in and did a Title I night last Thursday, and they brought all the stuff and really cool scientific puzzles that I even struggled trying to figure out, so super high engagement. We had 301 families come to the event. We have 331 kids at Washington, so I mean, that's huge successful turnout. And then the next day, Monty did a chemistry assembly, and we split the school in half, and it was very exciting for kids because there was some fire and some like mini explosions in a safe chemistry-like way, and the kids were stoked, and PTA funded OMSI to come to Washington Elementary, so it was great.
Great. Thank you. And Jenny Smith, anything from Southside?
Just it's the end of the quarter, and we are doing a pro Veterans Day assembly tomorrow, which we're super excited about. And then getting ready to welcome parents for parent-teacher conferences, just a little bit this week, but mostly next week. And just working on that and enjoying these long, dark days.
Let's see, Dr. Joy, Casey, welcome. Anything?
I do want to let the board know I did get there is a patron in the community that did send an email, wanted me to pass on. They thank you for adding abstinence, because that is a board choice with our athletic policy that you just passed. So we do have a patron that has students in the school system, and thank you for putting that in the policy.
Thank you. Well, I do have an announcement to make. It's kind of a tough announcement for me that after giving it much thought, I'm just reading this. After giving it much thought and prayer, I would like to tell the board and Dr. Meyer that I need to resign my seat from my position as trustee. My daughter recently had a baby a couple months ago, and she has asked Jim and I if we would be help with childcare. So starting soon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be going to Spokane for full days of baby care. And I feel like between missing school board meetings and having to work extra long hours at my other job, I just would not be able to fulfill what's required. the duties required here. I just want to say that after 9.5 years in this position, I will really miss you all and miss the work. Since May of 2015, when I was elected, we've seen some amazing and challenging times, and the hiring of 2 superintendents, the pandemic, passing the indefinite term levy, then that lawsuit. But all the amazing student accomplishments that have happened throughout, and I felt so connected to all of it. And though I won't be here in person, I will be here with you in spirit through many future Tuesday meetings. This district is in excellent hands under the leadership of Dr. Meyer, a great admin staff, an outstanding relationship with Brian Smith and the Teachers Association, Vice Chair Lonnie Williams, you're in good hands, and you fellow trustees have been amazing to work with, Tanya, Jalen, and Scott. And it's making me a little bit emotional, but it's the thing I have to do next, so, Grandma. So, thank you. That was my announcement. So.